Well, hello there. Welcome to Kinstretch with the Fitness Alchemists. So today's class is chock-a-block full of setups and movements that you can employ throughout your day, especially if you're sitting in a chair or maybe you just have some wall space. Obviously, we're going to do them back to back in like a class format, but that is not necessary. If there's one or more of these setups that really feel like useful for you, we invite you to sprinkle them in throughout the rest of your day and just remind those joints what segmentation feels like, really, because that's the key component to having healthy joints. So we're going to actually start on the wall. So you will need some wall space. Other props today, you're going to want a chair if possible with a back to it like this. Not too high backed of a chair, but also one that feels nice and stable. If you don't happen to have that, no sweat, you can just use like a block or a pillow up against the wall, and we'll show you that option. So in addition to that chair, you want to try to grab a block or a pillow, a tennis ball or balled up socks if that's all you've got, that works fine. And then if you can grab an additional little bit larger pillow, that'll just be an option later on. But if you can gather all those things, then we will be set to go. So hit pause and gather them and then come on back and we will get going. All right, so for the first exercise, I'm going to have you work on the wall, and I want you to stand on your own 2 feet. So you're not leaning into the wall, but you do want to be pretty darn close to the wall because we're going to be working on neck control. And that really starts with placing your head. So Hannah, just exaggerate for me like a forward head position. Yeah. Some of us are in that position pretty often. That's okay, not a terrible thing. But today we're going to work on pulling out of that position. But even if you don't have that forward head posture going on, it might feel like some real work to push the back of your head into the wall. Specifically, I want you to focus on that crown of your head. Try to feel like you're pushing the crown of your head into the wall. And when you do that, that should lengthen out the back of your neck. And then we're going to continue lengthening the back of your neck by trying to slide the crown of your head up the wall as far as you can. And maybe it'll be like a microscopic movement, but that's the effort. And then that's the beginning of your neck flexion. So now let the back of your head come away from the wall as you begin peeling your neck forward into flexion, doing your best to segment one vertebrae at a time from the top down just to the base of your neck. So we're not going to keep going down. And then once you get there, start at the base and start building your spine back up so your neck gets nice and tall, the crown of your head makes contact with the wall, and then slide that crown of your head back down just so we're sort of neutral-ish to start again. Okay, we're going to do this for a few reps. So crown of your head on the wall, start sliding it up as much as you can, and then keep going with that effort as you pull your chin down into your mid part of your neck and then maybe down towards your chest, but not letting your shoulder blades slide forward at all, and start building back up. So what you're looking for here is really trying to get as much motion out of every segment as possible of that neck. It might feel to you like only 1 or 2 segments bend, so like you kind of have hinges in your neck, and you really want to try to look for any motion that's available between those hinge points so we have a nice smooth arc and a nice smooth rotation as you move through. Let's try one more rep, feeling the active effort on the front of your neck that provides the control to pull you into your end range flexion, and then make your way back up. Okay. Now as we go through today working on the neck can be very, very touchy. Maybe it's just momentary soreness or maybe it's a long-term issue. The fundamental motion of your neck is that forward flexion, but even there you might run into some painful points, and you just want to really respect those as you go and not push into that. All right, now we're going to work a little bit lower down, and here's where you're going to want to grab your tennis ball or socks, and we're going to block the neck. So now we're focusing on the lower segments. We don't want to get the neck involved. So place that prop between your chin and your chest, and then come into a little bit of a wall sit. So your feet are away from the wall and you're driving your pelvis and your lower back into the wall. And I really want you to connect your lower back into the wall so that there's no daylight there and you can track that you keep that pressure throughout. And then brace your arms however you like. You can cross them over, Wakanda style, Wonder Woman style, or just hugging your shoulders. And then begin rounding forward, kind of like you were doing with your neck, but now with your upper back, your thoracic spine. Peeling those top segments away, then the segments more through your scapular area, your shoulder blades, and then keep going until what feels to you like the base of your rib cage, and that's where we're going to stop. All right. Once you get there, feel that ab contraction and use that active effort to start placing your spinal column back on the wall, segment by segment. So again, trying to get as much motion from each component of your spine as possible through this specific area of your thoracic spine. Once you get all the way back up, keep going forward, and we're going to keep going back and forth into flexion. Working hard through the legs and the abs, the lower back area, so that that area stays completely still and you're able to focus the movement into your upper back. Great. Let's work on that 20 more seconds. Very nice. I always like to remember that our nervous system is housed in our vertebrae. So when we're starting up with this slow, controlled motion, you might not feel like you're moving a lot, but you're moving really important components of your body. So spend that effort, spend that care. Good. And finish up the rep you're on. Great stuff. All right. I'll take that prop and go ahead and turn around and face the wall now. And set your hands out a little wider than shoulder width. We're going to start with the fingertips pointing outwards, and we're going to now work on some scapular CARs. So for a moment, just conceptualize your spine is sort of like deeper than the scapula. So we want to take a moment to brace the spine and keep that spinal shape as best you can. And then as we begin moving the scapula, we're going to slide them together. You'll feel your whole torso moves towards the wall. That's good. Then shrug your shoulder blades up, and then push the wall away and let those scapulas slide apart, but don't let the shape of your spine change. So it just stays neutral. Then again, shoulder blades together, shrug up and forward, and pulling those scapula down. One more in this direction, really trying to trace all the way through your borderline so that you cannot push or reach into any of these positions any more than you are able to find. Okay, once those shoulder blades get together, let's go the other way. Moving through the largest range that you can without letting your spinal column flex or extend. Really waking up all the tissues around your shoulder blades. So it might be in your chest. You might feel this in your neck. You may feel this between your shoulder blades, down your back, down the sides of your torso. One more rep here. Really keeping those hands heavy so you can elicit as much active contraction from those tissues as possible. And relax. Okay, very nice. So I'm going to now have Hannah sit and just on the front edge of the chair, and you can come down to your chair here. Place those feet flat on the ground, and let's place the block between the thighs. All right, and here's where we're going to work on just some spinal segmentation for the full spine. Get that lower back involved. So place your hands on your thighs, create some contraction, and then start curling your tailbone under so that it feels like you're tilting your belt buckle up towards your nose. This is spinal flexion, and let that continue up your whole spine. If you're familiar with cat-cow from quadruped, it's the same motion that we're doing through the spine, but obviously a different body shape and setup. Once your chin gets to your chest or towards your chest, make sure your hands are still heavy and start tilting that belt buckle towards your knees and even towards the floor. And then track that extension as it makes its way through your lower back, through that upper back, trying to feel contraction on the back side of your spine, and then up into your neck. Take care here how much you let that chin tip back. Make sure it feels safe and controlled. And then let's do one more rep, starting at your tailbone, curling under, It's okay if your butt slides a little bit on the chair, but really try to max out the stretch at the very bottom of your spine, and then one segment up, moving smoothly and with control into spinal flexion. And then check that those hands are heavy and the block is squeezed as we start going the other way into extension. Again, totally fine if your butt slides back onto the chair. Focusing on contracting those tissues that go along the side of your spinal column. Good. Very nice. Okay, and then take a breather. You can stay right on the edge of your chair. Grab that tennis ball or sock setup that you have, and we're just going to work on some shoulder CARs here. The only shift from usual is that I'm going to have you place your free hand on your rib cage. Okay, so just placing it there so that you can feel if your ribs are trying to extend at all. And then on this working side, you can see Hannah just kind of shifted over to the side of the chair so that she doesn't run into the back with the arm, and that will help. Okay, and then let's start with that arm straight out in front. Fully externally rotate as much as you can, and then cut across your midline. Keep that elbow straight and the prop squeezed as you sweep your arm up. When you hit your sticky point, start to internally rotate, and then keep that rotational effort going as you reach behind you. And this is really a moment for inventory. How does your shoulder feel? Are there any restrictions? Are there any ways that the movement of your shoulder pulls on your neck or is demanding of your neck? Good. Very nice. As you finish up, make sure you're winding up as much external rotation as you can. On this second rep, imagine there's a wall right next to you, and I want you to bring that arm as far overhead as you can without hitting that wall. Good. Once you get there, that is your sticky point. So that's your indicator to start internally rotating and rolling back to reach your arm behind you. Very nice. Great stuff. Good. And this is just another reminder, you can do shoulder CARs from seated. You can be right at your desk and do them. That's okay. Keep moving, finishing up this second rep and trying to get even more rotation through every angle so we get as many tissues awake and involved as possible. Nice. Okay. Scoot on over to the other side. So maybe this goes without saying, but the function of your shoulder and the quality or the feeling in your neck are like totally connected. And so sometimes when it feels like a neck thing, it's actually a shoulder issue. We might have talked to you about that before. But at the very least, it's very important to involve your shoulder with any training we do for the neck, which is what we're going to get into here in a moment. So again, just use this rep during the warm-up to do an inventory. You can go for it. Get that awareness building going on. Hit that sticky point. Keep squeezing the ball as you roll your bicep and reach back behind you. Good. Pops and snaps are normal and safe so long as there's no pain involved. That other hand on your rib cage is just helping to give you an idea if your spine or your ribs are trying to volunteer to offer more reach. And we want to really focus that movement right to that shoulder joint where your arm bone meets your torso. That's the spot we want to generate movement from for this exercise. Good. As you keep going through the second rep, can you squeeze that tennis ball a little tighter and keep your elbows straight? So you create a little bit more internal resistance for your shoulder muscles. Good. There we go. Good. Keep working all the way to the end, finding the range of motion that your shoulder allows. Might look different than Hannah's. All right. Very nice. Okay. So I'm going to grab that tennis ball from you, and we're going to now work a little bit on neck lateral flexion. So you can stay on the edge of your chair here, and what I want you to start with is, again, hands on your thighs so that you can try to cement your shoulder blades down your body. When we start to segment the neck, like always, the rest of your spine is going to try to help. Your shoulder blades are going to try to fly up. So you want to put some active effort into keeping them still. All right? So hands on thighs can help with that. And then place your awareness right at the very top of your neck, the base of your skull. And we're going to start trying to move from there first. And that movement is going to be lateral flexion, meaning your right ear is going to move towards your right shoulder, but segmentally, so from that top of your spine. Let's do a few reps to get a feel for it. So begin reaching your ear towards your neck, trying to only move that top segment, and then the next segment offers a little bit more motion, the next segment even more, and then as you get to the base of your neck, you might not get much motion, but you should feel like you're increasing the stretch on the left side or the opening side, okay? Once you're there, start at the base of your neck and start bringing your spine back upright. And just for clarity's sake, let's keep going to the right. Let's do a few more reps to the right. So shoulder blades stay down and begin segmenting. Almost feel like you're making your neck longer as you reach that ear to the side, not just collapsing the side of your neck. Good. When you get to the base of your neck, begin bringing your neck upright again, trying to unfurl so that your neck is longer than when we started. And then one more rep to the right. You'll get the most out of these drills today if you can really get excited and curious about the smallest motions of your spine. That's going to yield the most insight for you. Okay, take a breath. This can be a little disorienting maybe, okay? And then let's go again to the other side. So 3 reps into segmentation on the left. Cement those shoulder blades down. So this is an active effort. And then starting at the base of your skull, start to laterally flex to the left. Good. And just like all of our segmentation, we're shortening one side, contracting the tissue on that left side, even as we open and stretch the tissue on the right side. Key into both of those sensations. Good. Tilting right at the top of your neck, and then a little bit lower, and a little bit lower. Good. And maybe start building a little appreciation for how specific and controlled your spine can move when you spend a little extra focus on it. It's really an incredible series of joints. Nice. Very good. Okay. So as you wrap that one up, this really sets us up well to find a specific stretch or a line of tension that we can work on and improve just a little bit. So as I'm going to have you start reaching in a moment into that rightward direction, so we find a stretch for the left side. But before you do, I want you to hook your left hand either on the edge of your chair, if that works for you, or you can straight up just sit on it or grab your thigh. Whatever's going to allow you a real strong anchor through that hand, because in a moment I'm going to ask you to try to lift your scapula up, and I don't want you to actually move, but I want you to create that contraction so that we can isometrically train your neck tissues. Okay, so we want to block that arm first, and then all that great segmentation you were just doing, I want you to employ that now to find a very clear line of stretch on the left side. So you can go segmentally, start moving your right ear into that position, and you get to stop whenever you feel a clear line of tension. And I want you to bow that stretch, which simply just means micro adjust your segmentation to find a juicier line of stretch. That's the scientific term for it. Juicier. Okay? Once you feel that line of tension, we're going to use very light amounts of contraction, but commit to keeping your head in this position. If you think it'll help, you can place your other hand on the crown of your head and just keep your head from moving. Okay? Now we're going to start contracting by trying to lift your left hand upwards and maybe trying to reach the crown of your head to the left so that that line of tension gets tightened up. But again, nothing is going to move. So we're just doing a little isometric for that opening side, maybe up to 10 or 20% effort, and holding that 10 more seconds. Breathing, but feeling an active, intentional effort. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Melt it away, and then take your hand off the top of your head and segment your head back upright. Good. Take a breath, and then block your other side so that we can get a little PAILs contraction in for your right side. As you begin segmenting to the left, it very well might feel different because of the work we just did there. So go smooth, go by feel, and search out that line of tension on the right side. Okay? You might even without, yeah, it's going to be very specific for you. You might even without noticing it be rotating your head one way or the other. As much as possible for today, I want you to try to keep your face straight ahead and just move into lateral flexion. So just left ear towards left shoulder. And then brace the top of your head with that left hand. Good. And then very lightly start to increase that contraction. So you're thinking of bringing your head and your shoulder blade together, but you're not letting it happen, and the result is that stretching tissue comes under a little bit more tension. Ramp it up to a safe 10 or 20% effort. Stay there. This is such a perfect example of how we are able to communicate with our tissues with force. So we're using active effort to put force into those tissues. 4, 3, 2, slowly turn down that effort. So it's a controlled fade. And then hand comes off your head and you segment your neck back upright. Good. Okay? And then let's just check in on the how that might have changed things. So hands back on your thighs. And then begin that segmentation that we were doing before, starting at the base of your skull, right ear to the right shoulder. And remember, we're trying to max out how much motion or opening you're able to get at every vertebrae. So take your time all the way up to come back. And then let's do 2 more in that same direction. The right armpit and left armpit stays active so that your scapula don't move as you do move your neck. Very good. Last one in this direction. If you're moving much faster than Hannah, take note and try maybe 1 more rep much slower. Good. Take a breath, and then we're going to go 3 in the other direction. Hands are heavy throughout. Especially make sure that the stretching side shoulder blade doesn't elevate as you go into that lateral flexion. Another way of saying that is that as the left ear goes towards your shoulder, you're actively keeping your right scapula down. Good. Last one. Try to feel 6 segments in a row.
It's ambitious, Will.
It's ambitious, yeah, for sure. Most of us only really use maybe 2 or 3 segments of our neck, and we wonder where neck pain comes from. It's tough. All right. Okay. So as you finish that one up, this is a drill for me that I have to do pretty often to help with my neck. If you feel the same, I want you to just pause, go back, and go through that set one more time so you can catch those cues. And again, you can pull this exercise forward into your day-to-day life because it's such a powerful one. But we're going to move forward now and do some specific work for the thoracic spine. I'm just going to have Hannah stand up so we can turn this chair around and you can get a nice view of what's going on the back. Okay, so here's where you're going to want to maybe play with your setup on the chair. This chair, you can see, allows for a kind of a borderline on Hannah's thoracic spine. That border or that back of your chair could run into your spine anywhere from your bottom rib to about the bottom of your scapula. Anywhere there is fair game. But if you have a real high back chair that goes up to here, you might be able to sit up on a cushion and then find a good height. This is now a little too low for Hannah, so no need for that. Or you might go, hey Will, I don't have a chair, what am I supposed to do? You could grab a block or a pillow and find that spot somewhere above your bottom rib, below your scapula, and then plug into the wall. And that's going to provide a bit of that feedback that we're trying to take advantage of with this setup, okay? So find the setup that's going to work for you. If you're in the chair and you have that block, go ahead and place it between your thighs so we get a nice squeeze for your lower body. And we're going to do 3 different positions for your thoracic spine. We're going to spend a minute or so at each spot so you can really try to improve it. One more thing I forgot to mention is grab that tennis ball or whatnot to place underneath your chin like we were doing before so that your brain can really zoom in on how do you segment that part of your spine, that thoracic spine. All right, so once you're here, let's block with the tennis ball, cross your arms, and then just like we were doing on the wall before, I want you to begin peeling your spine forward into thoracic flexion. As you do, you're not going to let the part touching the back of your chair or the block, you're not going to let that part move. You're only going to move above that part. And get into as much flexion as you can. When you feel like you've run out of room, just stop there, okay? And feel the active effort. The thoracic spine is super, super tight, so you might not feel like there's much movement. That is okay. Really focus instead on the contraction effort happening on the front of your body. And then let's segment our way back upright, okay? As you segment, keep going past the back of the chair so you're segmenting into as much extension as you can. Really feel like you're trying to arch your upper back over and behind that chair, but again, not letting anything below the back of the chair move. Okay?
And don't lose your tennis ball.
And don't lose your tennis ball. All right. So that gives you a little landmarks of forward into flexion, back into extension. Let's start going forward into flexion again. On the second rep, you might feel a little bit more clear about what you're trying to do. So really feel that front of your torso working. Try to open up as much stretch of each segment as you can. And from this end range position now, we're going to work for a minute. Rotate your shoulders to the right as far as you can, not letting anything below the back of your chair move. And then as far as you can to the left, as you go through that center, trying to curl even more into more flexion. So you go to the left and then back to the right. Keep going back and forth, but every time you go through the middle section, try to round your spine into even more thoracic flexion. Keep breathing around that active torso. 30 more seconds, team. You might not be able to see it, but Hannah is shaking a little bit with this effort. Not much movement to see, but a lot going on. And small improvements in the thoracic spine make a big difference through your neck and shoulders. Keep that work going. 10 more seconds. Keeping your lower back and lower body still and wringing out as much rotation and flexion as you can. And relax. Awesome work. Okay, we're going to lose that tennis ball now.
Thank God.
And now we're going to work on that lateral flexion like we were doing for the neck, but now just for the upper back, for the thoracic spine. And this one can almost like provide some adjustments. I sometimes get some self-adjustments from this one. So again, brace your torso. We're going to do a couple reps together so you can get a feel, and then we'll start the clock and turn up the intensity. So this motion, think right armpit moving towards right hip. That'll give you the big picture idea. But again, the goal is to segmentally open up each vertebrae on the opening side as you contract them on the closing side. And then start bringing your spine upright, and we go in the other direction. You might notice again that there's very little movement here, and that's okay. Just don't let your head or your neck exaggerate into lateral flexion, because it's not really the focus here. So really focusing from the base of your neck to the back of the chair. 1 minute on the clock, segmenting as far as you can to the right, appreciating and zoning in on what contracts to pull you into that position, and then using that active effort to control your way back upright and laterally flex over to the left. I like to really think of opening up those segments above the chair. Really send a stretch to that opening side. Good. Keep going. 25 more seconds. Can you make your spine longer through this effort? Good. As you find more space, can you try to use that space to reach your spine taller as you go through the center? Good. Very nice. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great stuff. Okay. So things should really be lighting up in your upper back. Anything to comment on, Hannah? From
the tiniest adjustment.
Little chiropractic adjustment. Yeah, cool. Okay. Now we're going to finish up this thoracic portion with some specific extension work. This is where the tennis ball will come in handy again. So go ahead and block chin to chest with that tennis ball, block between the thighs, and then bracing your upper body, start sending some effort into your upper back so that you're contracting these tissues right above the back of the chair, essentially sending your sternum forward and up. So you're extending that spine. Thoracic extension is notoriously tiny, so just find whatever contraction you can and then come back forward. All right, so in a moment, you're going to find that end range position again.
It feels like a joke.
Little movement, but very important.
Okay.
We're going to work for 1 minute from that extended shape, biasing rotation in each direction. So you'll camp out an extension, rotate, and then as you go through center, again, from that rotation, you're going to try to increase your extension each time. All right, here we go. 1 minute.
You're going to try to increase your extension.
Oh boy, now she's getting petulant. All right, squeeze the shoulders, extend the upper back by contracting those tissues. Good. Maybe even finding a cramp, that's money. And then start turning your sternum one direction, rotating it, and keeping the part touching the back of your chair still. So it's going to be a tiny movement. And then move through the center, extend more, and rotate your collarbones to the left. Good. As you move through center, extend again, and keep that extension as you rotate. Don't lose your tennis ball. Don't lose that connection with your lower back and hips in the corner of the chair. 25 seconds. Breathing through this effort. So it's not either or, it's both. Losing the tennis ball, it's okay. Just reset, last 10 seconds. Cramping, cramping, cramping those upper back tissues. 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Very nice. Okay, so if the only result from all that work is that you have a little bit more awareness of your upper back, that is a huge upgrade, okay? If you felt some adjustments and some more space, that's awesome too. But the reality is we really are only able to move the spine as much as we can feel the spine. So keep that awareness building.
That's so real.
As front and center. Okay, we're gonna finish up with some shoulder work. You wanna turn and face the lovely audience?
Yes, I do.
Hello. Okay, so here you're gonna keep the block in between your thighs and grab that tennis ball now for your hand. And go ahead and reach your arm straight out to the side, okay? And then you're gonna trade your other hand off the ribs onto the trap area, sort of the neck, the tissue that connects your scapula to your neck. That's what I'll say. Yes, the stuff that gets really tight feeling when we're working at a desk a lot. All right, and I just want you to feel what happens when you ask your arm to externally rotate. What we're looking for is that your scapula almost tilts back and flattens along your rib cage. Hannah, show what would happen in the other direction. That sort of, yes, that forward slide. We want to try to unwind that to get set up for this final drill. Yeah, and you might feel some tissue in your upper back working to lock that scapula down. And then you have your hand there to also take note of any motion. Squeeze the tennis ball tight. We're going to seconds here of capsule rotation of your arm, but no movement of your torso or scapula. So keep going back and forth, squeezing the tennis ball to inspire contraction all around that shoulder joint, and trying to turn your bicep more behind you and then more in front of you or even towards the floor. Good. Keeping that arm nice and straight and doing your best to not let the angle of your arm move, but just rotate that arm. Sorry, I'm so mean. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so there's some serious effort keeping that arm locked out to the side. If this stuff is feeling fatigued, that's not a bad thing. It just means you're getting some good training in there. Okay, let's go over to the other side.
This arm is dead.
Dead arm.
It can't do anything.
Okay, reach that elbow out. All right. Externally rotate to set that scapula down, and then really check. You can even look. Is your arm straight out to the side, or is it sneaking in front of you a little bit? Sneaky.
Why would you say that, Will? I don't know.
It's my first Kinstretch class I've ever taught. Okay, so brace, keep that scapula still, and let's start 30 seconds of rotation. Rotating that bicep forward and back.
This side is so different.
And really check in with yourself. If you feel like you're just going through the motions trying to get these 30 seconds up, I understand why it can be tiring, but try to spend just a little more focus and see if you can wring out a little more at your end range. Try to get 1% more, that's all. Really crushing the tennis ball, keeping that scapula actively pulled down your back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Okay, so you know how Hannah was saying her arm is dead? Maybe your arm is dead too. We're actually going to lower the demand on the neck and shoulder, but increase the demand on some of the deeper tissues that rotate the shoulder by now doing it from a bent arm position. So go ahead, bend your elbow to about 90 degrees, doesn't have to be perfect, and then do the same thing as before. Externally rotate as much as possible to feel that scapula connect down your back, and then keeping your elbow as the sort of axle, start rotating your tennis ball forward for internal rotation, and then back for external rotation. As you go back and forth here, again, knock on the door for more rotation. Try to wring out that shoulder joint and really own as much of that rotational space as you can. Great. 10 seconds. Can you squeeze the tennis ball harder? Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you could maybe. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Yeah, very nice. Switch over to the other side.
Block squeeze really helps.
Yeah, don't sleep on the lower body helping you here. It's kind of weird to think about, but squeezing the block just gets more tissue involved. It can really help. So find bent elbow, externally rotate by reaching the tennis ball behind you, and then commit to keeping that scapula in place as you start your rotation, your shoulder capsule CAR. Good. Whatever amount of rotation you find is okay. Just really feel the complete stop. Does it feel like you could go further if you contracted something more? Do you feel like you could stretch anything more? Good. Back and forth. 15 more seconds. Not letting that shoulder blade shrug. Keep that shoulder blade down. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay. Very nice job. Again, think back through all the drills we just did and maybe pick out 1 or 2 or more than that that you might pull into the rest of your day. Capsule CARs in particular is one that I just throughout the day stop and give my shoulders little breaks that way, but many of the other drills will work that way too. And as always, hit us up with questions. We will see you soon.